Spade back here with you, High Noon Leatherworks, for another leather adventure. And today we're going to conclude the hunting knife sheath that has the dragon scales on it. So today we're going to conclude this project, and then that way we can move on to the next project. So come on in and let's get started. Alright, so I've got the knife sheath, and if you've seen the past videos, we put a spacer in here. So we do have three thicknesses. We've got the front, the back, and the spacer. And then I've attached a hold down strap, and I made it a different color to give it a little contrast, and it'll also give a little contrast with the knife handle. So let's slide that knife in the sheath. Fits real nice. And then this complementing color of a hold down strap will hold that knife in there. So let's go ahead and put our snaps on here, and then we'll move to the final step. So I've got just a scrap piece of leather here that I'll use as a backer. I've got a 1/8 inch punch, hole punch. That's for my snaps. So I've got these marked, and the way I did that was just take a snap and hold it up to the end, and gives you an idea of where you want to put that. Actually, you could turn it over and just push on the stem part on your leather, and it'll make a mark so you know exactly where to punch. Then put your punch right on that mark. And then there's my hole for my first punch, or for my first snap. Turn it over to the other side. And there's the second hole. So I've got both my holes in there. Now I need to determine where I want the male and where I want the female snap. So I believe I want since this is basically a right-handed sheath, put the snap on this side so you can pull it toward the right. So that would be my outside. That would be the finished round part. Let's see if I can get that. So that would go on the outside. So I'll push that through. Here's what it looks like on that side. And then I've got my setter. I'll put that down on there, and then put the female part of the snap over the top of that, and then take my setter punch I normally try to hit that 3 times, and I'm just using a plastic mallet, so it's very lightweight. I could use a heavier, but I'd rather hit it multiple times, have more control over it. And then I check it to make sure it's not spinning, because I want it to be pretty tight. So there's the female part of the snap. There's the finished part on the back. So the next thing I need to do is roll this over and look to make sure I'm getting this snap in here, the male snap, in the correct direction. So I'll take my backer that has the stud on it, and I'll put it through the back or the inside, and it looks like I may have to open that hole just a hair. I just use a stylus to push that, and that allowed that to slide right in. I'll flip my setter over because it's cupped on one side and it's flat on the other. This part of the snap is flat, so I'll put that on the flat side of the setter. Take my male part of the snap, put it over that, take my setter punch, double check it, make sure it's not spinning, and then there's the finished strap. So let's put the knife in there. And then let's put the snap over the handle. Make sure everything fits good. And it does, fits great. And it's snapped. It just looks good with that complementary color on there. So that completes the actual sheath itself. The last thing I need to do is put some protective sheen on there. Let me throw my setters back in my box here. Grab my Fibings leather sheen. Protects and conditions leather with flexible and durable acrylic finish is what it says on it. I use this a lot. It works great. And I use these disposable rags in a box. And I do use the white. You can get them in blue, I believe. I've had them in blue before, but I get the white ones so I don't have any dye coming off of it. And then when I open my bottle of sheen, it's got a foil top on it. And instead of removing that, I take my stylus and poke 3 holes in it so I can control the amount that I'm putting on my rag. So I don't pour it on my leather itself, I pour it on my rag, and then since these scales are like a 3D effect, I'm going to go from top to bottom. So I'm not going to come back against my scales, I'm going to go with the scales. And that again is going to enhance that 3D look of those scales because it won't soak it down in to the edge of those scales. Then I'll do the edges, flip it over, flip my rag over, put some more sheen on it, and I'll do the same thing. I'll go from top to bottom, and I'm just rubbing that sheen on the leather. Turn it over again. Give me a clean side of the rag again. And I'll do it from top to bottom again. Now what that's doing, you can tell when the sheen gets to the point where you got enough on there, because it actually will kind of look a little milky on the surface. And when that happens, that's when I stop applying it, because it's taken the maximum amount that it's going to soak in at that point. So I stop applying at that point. You can do the top part where the belt loop is. I'm going to apply some to my strap. It'll darken that up just a hair, but that's okay. That's not going to hurt anything. It's still going to look really good compared to the dark. I think I used medium brown on the sheath itself, and I can get underneath the loop here. And then if you just want to dab on a little bit on the belt loop part, you don't have to try to rub it on. You could just dab on a little bit, and that'll help protect that, because that's the rough side of the leather anyway. Alright, so I'll set that aside, put my sheen up. Then I'll take a clean rag, fold it up, and then I'll buff it. And you notice I'm buffing one direction the same way I applied the sheen. Now it was not going to hurt anything to buff it back and forth like this. I just don't like to apply the sheen that way with these scales. Turn it over, turn my rag over. And as you buff this, you'll see the shine or the sheen start to come out in it, in the leather. You can keep turning your rag over so that you have a nice, clean, soft spot on your rag. And then we want to do the strap also. It'll be a little more difficult to do the strap because it's so small. It's not impossible. Just takes a little more work. One more go over. And there's the finished knife sheath. And you can see with the light on it, you can see what that sheen does to that leather. It protects it, conditions it, but it also gives it just a little bit of a shine. Not much, but enough that you can tell that it's a finished piece. So let's put the knife back in it, put our snap on, and there's our finished knife sheath for a beautiful hunting knife. So thanks for coming along for this series. Hope you enjoyed it. We ended up with a beautiful finished knife sheath for this custom German-made hunting knife. It's got the dragon scales on both sides. It's got our finished sheen. It's got our hold down strap. So I appreciate you coming along and watching. Come in next week and we'll be doing something totally different. So please, like I always say, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.